Hi book nerds, and welcome back to Book Club. This week we are going to be talking about Crumbs. Look at this artwork. It's so cute. It's adorable. So, Danny Sterling, the creator of Crumbs, I was originally reading this as a webcomic on Webtoons, but then I saw a physical copy of it, and I just couldn't help myself. Even though I didn't finish the webcomic, I saw this and I was like, you know what? This is mine now, and I'm gonna read it. And I actually never finished it on the physical book or as a webcomic. So I finally got to finish it. I'm so glad I did. This is a definite pick-me-up that I really needed this winter. And it has such a fun art style, such really cute characters, and it's such a fun, simple story in a magical setting. Speaking of magical settings, let's read the back of the book blurb, because of course it has one of my favorite things that all books should have. So, let's get started. Falling in love just got sweeter. In a very special town, there's an even more unusual bakery with a selection of baked treats, handcrafted to help your dreams come true. For Ray, a quiet young woman with special powers of her own, the order is always the same: a hot tea with a delicious side of romance. When Ray meets Lori, the kind barista who aspires to be a professional musician, she gets a real taste of love for the first time. But even with a spark of magic, romance isn't so simple. Both Ray and Lori are chasing their own dreams, and even when Ray starts to see the future, she can't predict her fate with Lori. Based on the webcomic from Webtoon, the #1 digital comic app, averaging more than 10 million daily readers and 100 billion views annually, Crumbs is a stunning print format for the first time, with gorgeous illustrations and exclusive new content, sure to pleasure fans new and old. This art style is so cute, and I love the story. It's so cute. But I actually have a bit of fun fact lore. So when I first found Crumbs, I originally started reading it through, and then I got to the end, and it wasn't the proper end. It was maybe 5 or 6 chapters in, and then the author had a little author's note saying hey, I am revamping the story with, a different-esque type of art style. It's just a little more rendered, a little more finished, and with the plot a little more fleshed out. And when I read both side by side, because she introduced the new Crumbs, the new webtoon, to it, I kind of read them back and forth, and I was like, okay, there's slight differences, but, one's a little more finished, a little more polished. But I'm still technically subscribed to that first beta of the comic, and I now not only am subscribed to it on, the actual, webcomic, but I also have the physical book, which, I don't know, to me it's wow, I was really there from the beginning, and I just never finished it for some reason. What? Anyway, this story, it's so cute. I love it so much. Anyway, let's get into it. Our two main characters, Ray and Lori. Ray, Lori. Ray, Lori. They're adorable, they're super cute, and there's just something about the way the story progresses. It's so cute. Anyway, let's talk about Ray for a little bit. Ray is this beautiful, kind, shy girl, and, they're all college-aged, and she's actually a seer. She's not a seer in a way of she can see into the future. She can only see the now, the present, but she has a very good accuracy of what is happening. She could tell you exactly where a missing ring is, or she could tell you how fast a hurricane is coming, or, that someone is lost out in sea, and she could tell exactly where things are and how to get there. She can never really be lost. She always knows where everything is, and she can see what other people, are trying to do or trying to get to do. And she also, if she touches someone, she can see their future, their memories, their past, in a sense. She could kind of tell a little bit, so she doesn't try and touch people either. And I love this character. She's very calm, she seems very level-headed, and when she does get excited, it's just adorable and super cute, and I absolutely love it. And then we have Lori, an aspiring musician. He goes to gigs, he practices the guitar, he works as a barista at his aunt's cafe, bakery shop, you know, that whole thing. And it's so cute. I love this world so much. The world building itself is just adorable. There are other characters in the story itself, but it doesn't feel like it's a story about them. Like, they're there and they have their own thoughts and their own backgrounds, but they're just kind of there and then they go back into the background. Like, they're part of the background, they're part of the set. The story really is just focused on Ray and Lori. And maybe we get like subtle background of the background characters or of like the side characters. Like, we get a little bit of Lori's aunt. Like, we get a bit of her backstory in that she used to be a councilwoman and she used to be this, you know, this whole amazing person, and now she's running a bakery even though she could run the world if she really wanted to. And we kind of get, you know, some backstory on Lori's friends, and we get a little bit of backstory on, you know, Ray and her life and life with her mother and all that. And what I really like about how this story portrays its characters and the world itself actually is how subtle everything is. It's in the nuances in it, which I actually really like, especially for a graphic novel and a webcomic. Like, that is actually increasingly hard to do, or almost impossible to do in my experience when it comes to reading webcomics and comics in general. Nuance is not really a thing in the brand of webcomics that I read. Which I'm sure y'all can understand what I'm talking about with some of the comics that I gave an example from last week's video. Anyway, let's get into the actual plot of the story, which is to say there's not really a plot. It's just like the characters have a dream or goal in mind and they're doing what they can to get to it. There's no like actual, you know, problem or overarching alt. Oh my goodness, no. The plot isn't really like, it doesn't have like an overarching problem to conquer with a happy ending. It is, you know, it's a romance. It's just like, hey, a character meets a character and they have this goal and this character has this goal and they're trying to navigate it together, you know, while being together in a sense. And it's so cute. And how the story starts off is that Ray goes into Lori's aunt's shop. She gets tea. She asks for a romance pastry. She sits down and she enjoys the feeling of romance as she eats. And she sees Lori and he's the barista there. He's kind of cute. You know, she's just kind of vibing. She's not really doing much or saying much. It's actually Lori that goes up to her and is like, "Hi, I'm Lori. It's really nice to meet you. You're the girl that really likes our romance pastries. That's really cool of you to really like them. And here's your tea. Hi." Like, oh my god, hi. It's cute. It's cute. It's adorable. I just really like it. And, you know, they talk a little bit. They exchange numbers. And, you know, he invites her out to go see a gig that she's doing. Swap that around. He invites Ray to a gig that he is doing. You know, it's a musical gig. He's going to be playing his instrument. He's trying to be recognized. He's trying to be better as a musician to make this into, you know, his goal, his dream, his life, what he wants to do with his life kind of thing. So while this is happening, so that's Ray's goal and Ray's dream. Ray wants to be a musician. He wants to be part of a band. He wants to be professional, get a producer, to be scouted out. Ray, on the other hand, she gets romance, some tea, she's in college, she goes to her dorm room, and she's trying to get to be a part of the council. And the council, I'm not entirely sure, you know, what the whole, like, if it's not their government, but it's like a type of government, in a sense, where it's like, the council, they basically help like natural disasters in a sense, but they also help, you know, if like wind sprites are going crazy, or if these people need help, or if there's a natural disaster. It feels like that they're just like, I can't think of the word for some reason. Anyway, the council is like these people who just help others and help the magic and help kind of keep things calm, essentially, on a big level. It's like a big, I don't know what the word is. What is the word? Search and rescue? I don't know how else to explain it. It's like they try to prevent natural disasters from happening or trying to minimize damage as much as possible. So it's actually really cool and interesting, but they don't properly explain what the council does. You have to pick up on these things as you read through the story, which I actually really love. And it's kind of thing of why Rey wants to be part of the council, is that she wants to be, in this group, in this program, because with her sight, with her being a seer and having the accuracy at the present, she could really help a lot of people, which we see a flashback of her saying, like, I want to go to this academy and I want to graduate from it, and I want to go be an intern at the council, and I want to work at the council and be a councilman or councilwoman, and I want to help a lot of people because my power can help a lot of people. And Laurie is getting gigs. He invites Rey. Rey gets introduced to, all the friends and all that. And then Rey is, going off to apply for the internship. She's being tested, which she passes with flying colors. She's put on a certain branch, and they're like, hey, your accuracy of like your searing powers, like, that's amazing, that is so cool, like, that is actually gonna be really helpful. Here's a bunch of scrolls that need to be put in certain places, and they don't even really explain what she does. They just kind of go like, hey, here's scrolls, do your thing. Which, honestly, I kind of love. I love that we're not being, like, spoon-fed this information. This is something I really like in storytelling, and that I try to mimic myself. Anyway, and, it's really cute. Laurie and Rey, they're kind of getting closer. They're not really going on, like, dates together by themselves. It's always like, hey, we're meeting up at the cafe together with a bunch of other friends. Oh, hey, like, let's go to the gig. Like, my friends are going to be there as well. Like, they're doing it in, like, group settings. So Rey is starting to get some friends that are Laurie's friends. Laurie is spending more time with Rey. And it's just really cute that they're kind of getting together and they're just being adorable. And essentially, what it does come out that, Rey does like Laurie and Laurie does like Rey. And how they do it is very casual. It's very natural and simplistic. And they even have a kiss scene, like, right in the beginning. Not in the beginning of the book, but where is it? I'm going to find it. It's like, okay. While I was flipping through, trying to find, like, their first kiss scene, they do have, like, 2 private dates. One where they're just, going on a walk together and talking. And then the next day, it's like they're at a group study, and then they have their own private study. And then Laurie invites Rey to watch him play another gig, but Rey has her interview and is working as an intern with the councilman, and she can't make it in time, so she's there late right after he plays. And she's super apologetic. She's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to miss it, I feel terrible, I missed it. And Laurie does the really cute thing of going up to her. He's like, you came, like whether or not you missed it, you still came. You came and you wanted to support me. And I really appreciate that. Oh my god. And it's so cute. I love how the author, like, I love the artist in this. And they, go on another date. And it's after Laurie gets some bad news that he did not make it into a music school that he wanted. And it's this whole thing where, like, sometimes Rey cannot control what she sees. So when she looks at Laurie opening, like, the letter that is either an acceptance or rejection letter, she sees that it's a rejection letter, but Laurie doesn't tell her anything. He doesn't tell her that it's a rejection letter. He just says, like, oh, it's a letter, I applied to so many schools, I'm waiting to hear back from all of them, kind of thing. But he doesn't tell her that it's a rejection. And when they're going on, like, a date and they're walking around, she tells him that she did accidentally see and that she's sorry. And, it's kind of this whole thing where it's like, they don't really have a fight about it. Laurie understands that she can't control her powers, but he does wish she would have told him immediately, and that if she can control it, then he wants to be the one to tell her when stuff like this happens. And they're going on the date. It's super cute. And we have the kiss scene, and it's just so cute. It's drawn adorably. Like, look at this. I love it. I love it so much. We also get a scene of like when they went on one of their dates, Laurie forgot to close up the shop. And so what ended up happening was that like a few like random sprites got in, terrorized everything. And so Rey talks to one of the friends, Cian, I think it was, like Cian, I think is how you say the name. And, talks about, did you and Laurie used to date? And Cian says yes, they used to date, but she broke it off because she, was getting insecure with Laurie, because Laurie treats everyone like they're special and never wants to seem like a downer around them. which is like she couldn't handle that anymore and she broke it off with him, but they stayed really good friends. So anyway, after like the whole thing with the kiss and the rejection letter for Lori, and Ray is trying to be supportive, Ray, you know, is then going over to Lori's house and, you know, where his aunts live, which also Lori has 2 aunts. We love that for them. So yeah, so Lori, so when Ray goes over to his house and, you know, they're just hanging out, she's listening to him practice. She asks, hey, how come you don't have a flying license? Because in this world of magic and witches and seers, they can also fly on broomsticks, which I think is really cool. And they actually have like license and permits to do this kind of stuff. And this is where we get backstory from Lori explaining that he has a fear of heights and that he does need to learn how to fly eventually because he can't get gigs or he can't get into certain schools because he refuses to fly. And he explains that the reason why he's scared of flying is because his parents died in an accident while flying, is that there's just like a migration of wind sprites just came in where they were flying and they were in an accident, and that's why he's in the care of his 2 aunts. And he says that manifested into a fear of heights and into a fear of flying, but he wants Ray to help him get over it because in the story, he has to learn how to fly in order to get to places, to get the gigs, to go to schools, and to do what he needs to do to make his dreams possible. As the story progresses, Lori and Ray, they stay together, they stay super cute. Ray is slowly helping Lori learn how to fly. They're doing their internship. Lori is still, you know, working at the bakery. You know, some of the friends leave the friend group to go off and do their own thing, to work at different jobs, go to different opportunities. Ray and Lori, they're kind of missing each other when it comes to talking to each other because with the councilman, with working as an intern as the council, they do this thing where you are not allowed to remember what you do at like the headquarters of being a councilman, and that once you are a councilman, like you cannot remember at all what you were doing there. So you might have like a family or whatever and you're just like, oh, I don't remember what I was doing. And it's kind of also this thing of like once you become like a high position councilman or part of the council, you're not allowed to be remembered at all. So as an intern, you know, you just don't remember what you were doing, but when you're an actual council and part of the higher ends of the council, you're not remembered by anyone. And if you leave, you won't remember anything either. Which in my opinion, it's like, okay, this is probably like a government thing, but also you're not that serious. You're a search and rescue and like a weather control is essentially what you guys are, which is important in this world. They make it very clear that this is super important. This is like government high-end level secrecy, that we are using magic to make you forget what you know and what you've learned, which is crazy and insane, but I love it. I love how they do this. It is just so good. But yeah, so overall things are going pretty good with them. And you know, when she is going to start giving her flying lessons, that's actually the end of season 1 because, you know, most webcomics, they have seasons. You know, they'll go maybe about 20 or 50 episodes and they'll be like, well, that's the end of season 1. I'm taking a break, and then we'll continue season 2 later. Then I'll start season 2, same thing, 20 to 50 episodes, maybe more. They'll cut it, be like, all right, that was season 2. We might do season 3. There's only 2 seasons in this. And look at what season 2 looks like. This is so cute. This is adorable. I love it so much. I know I keep saying that, but I can't help it. The art style is just so beautiful and gorgeous. I'm going to talk about it more, but my goodness. And I really like their dynamic of, like, she's, like, the reserved, like, it's the cat and dog dynamic. You guys know what I mean. If you're a reader, you know exactly what I'm talking about with the cat and dog dynamic, because he is obviously, like, just so excitable and so happy to be with her, and she's very calm and reserved. She does get excitable, too, when she's with him, or when there's something to be excited about, like a big celebration or congratulations or something. But she's not, like, she's not on the same level as him when it comes to, like, their energy levels, it feels like. But it's so cute. I love it so much. As the story progresses, Ray is starting to get visions of the future. And she's like, oh, I've never had to deal with this before. Maybe my visions of the future could help a different branch of the council. And maybe I could further progress my skills and help more people. So she switches branches. Because she was in, like, one type of branch of the council. Now she's in a different one doing an internship there, where she actually gets, like, these, like, rocks or All right, it's called a Sight Shade Keeper. It's like a little blue stone where basically whoever's holding that stone, a seer can't look into their future or see anything about them, which is actually pretty cool. I love that they have that. And so she takes, a couple of those with her, now that she's in this new branch, and she's learning how this branch works, learning about field work. She's working with another intern who doesn't really seem to like her as much. And again, she has that very like calm, straight-faced attitude when it comes to everything for the most part. And Ray is enjoying also teaching Lori how to fly, going through basics, helping him prepare and all that. And she gives like the keeper stone to Lori, be like, hey, why don't you keep it? I don't want to accidentally look again, not without your permission. Like, I don't want to use my powers kind of thing. And everything is good in this season. But then Lori gets scouted out by this big producer, and he's super excited, and Ray is super supportive as well. And while Ray is off doing her internship, Lori goes to the scout, and the scout basically says that they were looking for that unkept, fresh vibe that Lori has, basically saying that Lori is not practiced enough and he sounds like a newbie. And that is what they were looking for. And Lori absolutely takes that to heart. He's like, oh, that's not what I thought I was scouted for. I didn't know that was why I came here, was to, be told that I sound like a newbie and I sound like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, okay. So he is actually upset about that, and he keeps the Keeper Stone in order to make sure that Ray doesn't see how upset he actually is. So as they're, doing flying lessons and all this stuff, Lori is absolutely spiraling about not making music and not being good enough to make the music, and he's keeping the stone on him to make sure that Ray isn't peeking at what he's actually feeling. Which, that's absolutely not gonna cause issues or problems at all. And, Ray's having her own doubts while she's at the internship because she wants to practice her power more, but most people are only using her for her ability to see accurately into the present instead. And she's starting to have, like, spats with that other intern that was showing her around. Because the other intern basically is like, I don't even know why you're here. You don't act like you're happy to be here. You got to be putting your full body, like, full chest into this stuff. You got to be willing to sacrifice everything for this life. And it's just very intense about it. But again, the whole, like, the cool calmness of, like, the Black Cat personality, very much kind of, I'm with Ray on this one, kind of going, what the hell is this person's problem? But, it's just that whole mentality of, like, Ray needs to do what she feels like is best, but also, she was kind of pressured into this life because her mother also, from Ray's point of view, her mother is also expecting her to be a councilwoman at 19, the youngest age ever, to use her ability to soar and, like, set her sights high kind of thing. Like, that's what Ray thinks her mother wants of her. That's what Ray's mother's expectations are. And lo and behold, Ray's mother is coming into town. So Ray is kind of like, oh my god, you need to warn me before you say anything like that, before you come into town. And Ray does not want her mother to talk about the internship or being part of, like, the council or anything like that. So while, Lori's going through with it, realizing that he's not a good musician, and Ray's going through with it of, like, high expectations and all that. So, wonderful, like, internal conflict for both of them while trying to still interact with each other like nothing is wrong. And obviously there's some accidental missed signals going through with all that. So Ray's mother comes into town, and Ray does introduce her to Lori, being like, oh, this is my boyfriend, this is my date, and, we've been together for a little bit. And her mother is absolutely thrilled and happy. She's like, oh my god, yes, I'm so glad my daughter has a date and has a boyfriend. You're adorable, you're handsome. I'm so happy for you, sweetheart. And the council internship does get brought up, and it is a little awkward for Ray. Ray does go like, yeah, it's going fine. I'm, doing my best. I'm using my powers to the best of my ability. And she tries to tell her mom that she doesn't know if she's gonna make it as, to be a counselor at the young age that they've always talked about. And her mom is, very kind of like, oh, I'm sure you'll be able to do whatever you set your mind to. I know you have it in you. I'm proud of you no matter what, kind of thing. And to Ray, from our perspective, which is Ray's perspective, it does feel authentic. But also, as we see Ray's perspective, we can see that she has serious doubts about how her mother is saying and talking to her. And we kind of get more of, like, Lori is hiding stuff from Ray. And Ray's not trying to hide from Lori. She's trying to be open about it, but she's dealing with her mother first. And she does even tell her mom, she's like, what if I don't want to do this anymore? What if I don't want to be part of, like, the council or to become a counselor or something like that? And her mother just tells her, like, you can do whatever you want. You will always be my girl. You're always my child. I love you and I'm proud of you no matter what. She's like, do what you want to do. Do what you love. Do what you need to do, kind of thing. And I thought that was really sweet. This wasn't going to be, like, a really long, drawn-out argument or anything like that. It's just very much, it feels natural. It feels like how normal people would probably go through this kind of stuff. So as the story progresses, Lori ends up lying to Ray about, trying to get his flying license when he's actually, going to gigs and interviews and all this kind of stuff. And so he ends up telling Ray that, oh, I actually failed my flying test. And Ray's over here like, oh, I'll come over and I'll help you go through the test again and see where you made mistakes and, what feedback did they give you? And as she's trying to, ask him all these questions, he's like, oh, I'm not sure, and, this and that. He's trying to dodge out of it. But then his phone, which, super cute, they have phones called Wobbles, and it's basically like their Wobbles are little magical series. They're like, hey, do you want to set a reminder? Hey, you got a notification from this. Hey, I'm reading out this text out loud. Or, hey, I'm going to take a picture. It's just so cute. I love how they do this. It's so great. They're little magical series. And I think I would be okay with a magical series in this world, with how they do it in, this book. So, the Wobble, the little phones, the little series, the magical series, Lori's Wobble ends up revealing that Lori lied to Ray, to which Ray is like, you lied to me about your flying license test and you went to this gig instead. Why wouldn't you tell me? And, like, is that why you kept the Keeper Stone on you? Is because you don't want me to know any of this? And Lori's like, all right, yeah, I didn't, this happened and this happened, but I'm sorry for lying to you, but it's fine now. I'll fix it. It's going to be great. And Ray kind of has that moment of, like, when she was talking to Cian, and Cian talked about how Lori wouldn't open up about problems or issues and would only try to stay happy all the time. Ray sees that and kind of goes, oh, this is what she was talking about. And so she kind of steps away and she's like, look, I'm not mad at you and I'm not leaving because I'm mad at you, but I think we need to take some time apart and think about this, kind of thing. Because she's over here like, I'm not happy that you lied to me. Like, it's not about the lying. I don't care about that. I'm upset that you're not opening up to me when there's problems, like when you're having problems. And Lori's being like, well, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to make you feel sad about it. I don't want you to be upset. You're being upset right now. This is what I was trying to avoid. And Ray's like, well, do you care if I make you upset or sad when I'm sad or something? And she's basically trying to explain that it's not about the lying. It's about the fact that Lori doesn't want to open up to Ray, and so they can't further the relationship any more than it has. And, Ray's not actually mad at him for it. She's just kind of like, we need to take a step back, and, this isn't a bad thing. I'm not actually mad at you. I think that we just need to, think about this a little bit, kind of thing. And Ray does kind of realize, while she's at the internship and she's going through all of that, realizing what she does and doesn't want, she ends up going back to her old branch because she feels like she is a better fit there than the one that she transferred to. And she's, still talking to the friends. She's still talking to Lori. But Lori's trying to go back to how they were, inviting her out to gigs and music. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this, kind of thing. And Lori's kind of pushing it a bit. And she kind of realizes that she is mad at Lori for not wanting to open up to her and for lying to her about opening up and all that. And she just doesn't know where they are. And then also with the fact of her wanting to be a counselor, is that people who knew her will forget her until she retires. What I actually like about this is that the friend group, while Lori is hanging out with them, is that they actually call him out on doing it. Because, you know, he's obviously very anxious and nervous about, you know, him and Ray possibly breaking up and no longer being a thing and not even being friends anymore. And the rest of the friend group is kind of like, hey, you gotta calm down. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring you down, like, it's fine, everything's great. And he's doing, like, this really kind of, like, forced smile, and the friends are going like, that is what we're upset about. Stop forcing yourself to be happy when you're obviously not. We're your friends. We don't care if you're, you know, if you're gonna bring us down or if we're sad with you. Like, that's the point of friendship. Lend your burden onto us, kind of thing. And I really like that because that's the wake-up call that Lori needs. He's kind of like, oh my god, I'm been an idiot. I really need to work on this, don't I? About being a people pleaser and making sure everyone's happy and trying to fix everything and trying to stay happy all the time. They're like, yeah, you got to work on that, dude. Like, this, like, we love you, bro, but this is getting out of hand. So there's also, like, this really weird dream sequence that Ray has where, like, Ray sees Lori and Lori just turns into, like, a faceless person and kind of going like, oh, like, you accidentally broke something, right? Like, oh, here, let me help, let me fix it, let me fix you, kind of thing, and not allowing Ray to return the favor of any kind. And it's just kind of like a really weird, like, nightmare for her. And it is kind of the thing of, like, as the story progresses, Lori does ask Ray if they could talk in person. Ray goes, and they kind of have, like, a heart-to-heart moment of, hey, do we still have a chance together? And Ray says, I would like to think that we could have another chance, because Ray doesn't want to break up with Lori. Lori doesn't want to break up with Ray, but they can't go back to how things were because Ray's just going to think that Lori's going to be lying and hiding, you know, everything again. And Lori doesn't want to do that, and they agree that, you know, they need to, that Lori himself needs to try and be better about it. He is, you know, trying to work on it as well, and it's good that his friends, you know, called him out on his BS and all that. And they're kind of like, you know what, we will figure this out together, kind of thing. And it's super cute. And so we have this moment of, like, everything is going good. Ray feels, you know, well balanced and well placed in her internship. She's actually going through the marks. Her mentor is telling her, like, hey, with time, if you keep this up, you'll make it to counselor very soon, and I'm giving you a chance to, you know, practice your foresight and to look into the future, to gain that skill and hone it in. And so everything's going great for Ray. And then for Lori is going to auditions. He's relearning, you know, how to fly, and he's going to get his flying license soon. And he's doing all this, and everything seems to be going great. And then near the end of the story, Ray tells Lori that if Ray makes it to being a counselor, that small bit of doubt, Ray is going to, like, Ray is already kind of expecting it, but Ray tells Lori, hey, if I make it to counselor, you're going to forget me. I don't want you to forget me. And Lori's over here like, well, I don't want you to give up your dream just so that way I won't forget you. He's like, go be a counselor and we'll live our lives. And when you're done being a counselor, when you're done helping and saving people, come find me. Come find me and maybe we'll try again, no matter where we are in life. We might go back to being friends, or we might be something more. And the story ends there, but then we get oh my god. We get an epilogue of the future. It's like 5 or 6 years in the future or something like that, where Ray made it to being like a high-end counselor, and they actually, you know, did a lot of good work, you know, did a lot of great stuff, and actually has now implemented a new program where once you retire as a counselor, or like once you start becoming a counselor and an intern, then the whole memory wiping thing is done. It's eradicated, and they're actually now retiring, which is great. Amazing. We love that. And so Ray is now, you know, we also get a bit of like Lori's life. Lori made it, you know, part of a band, and they're really professional, and they made it to, you know, the big stuff, and they have fans everywhere, and they're going on tours. And it's this really cute scene where Lori is like, you know, walking down a street, and he's on a broom. He has a broom. We see him flying around. He starts walking on a street, getting to where his band is. You know, it's either a restaurant or a hotel or something. And his wobble that he had, you know, throughout the story, which was his dad's wobble and all that, his wobble, you know, gets a message, and he turns around, and Ray has her phone and her wobble out, And that's where the epilogue ends. And again, this is a physical copy, so we got some extras, as it said in the back of the book blurb. And the extras is his aunt, who runs the cafe, is teaching, you know, the barista that now works there how to cook certain foods like joy, melancholy, all that kind of stuff. And Ray and Lori, you know, are linked together hand in hand, you know, at the back entrance of the cafe, and they're going to surprise his aunt. And that's where the story ends. And it's so cute. I love it so much. So, for my personal thoughts of the story, it's adorable. I love this art style. This art style is so cute. It's simple. It's actually rendered really well from what I noticed. And it's just adorable. I love how everything is drawn. I love how everyone is drawn. It's not the same face syndrome. There's like uniqueness and characteristics in these characters, and I love it. It's so cool. It's not just like a copy paste of like a character avatar. It's like, no, these are like, you know, different people, different heights, sizes, you know, different hairstyles, different hair colors and eye colors, and they have like their own little characteristics, their own little features on them. I love it. I love everything that this artwork does. And on really big emotional moments like kiss scenes or makeup scenes, they have a really cool textured style where it looks more like drawn in like, I don't want to say like drawn in crayon, but it feels like the style gets more textured in a way of how it's drawn. And I love it. I love that this big emotional scene, we get to see like a way that's represented in the art. I love it. Everything is so cozy. It's like a modern, like, it's like someone made a, God, I don't know, it's just so cozy. I don't know how to explain it other than cozy. It's not on the cozy level of Ghibli, because Ghibli is also very cozy style, but this style is just so cozy and so wonderful, and the food and the drinks and the clothes and the backgrounds are just magical in a sense. And the art style is such a big part of storytelling as well. And I just love it so much. There's so much nuance in the story as well. That's something else that I actually really like about the story. I've said it several times in the duration of this one video. The nuances, the subtleness of the story itself, of the world building is amazing. Like, you go into this world, no one is sitting there for 10 pages explaining the rules of the world, of the universe, of how magic works, how some people have powers, how some people don't have powers. Why is it that some people know how to do magic, some people aren't doing magic? You know, how does the flying work? How do the sprites work? Is there other magical creatures here? There's no explanation of it. It's just, you know, there's magic. Hey, look, another thing that's magic. It's the subtlety of it, the nuance of it. I love it. I love it when stories do that, when they make us actually think of how this world probably works. I just can't help it. It's just, this is such a cool world. It's such a wonderful way of building a story, especially for world building. And with my story, because I'm currently, you know, writing a fantasy-based story, I am trying to do what they did in there. I'm not trying to explain how the world works. I'm trying to show them how the world works through examples, through what the characters are doing, or even just like, hey, yeah, there is this one project that me and my friend group are doing where we have to create, you know, these summons and these spells, and it's for a project, and it works like fireworks in a sense. And they show us that. They show us like, oh yeah, we're doing this project for this. Like, okay, that's it. And then we show them continuing working on it. We see little sketches of what it's supposed to be. We see an end product of what it should be. I love it. It's not actually explained sitting down with like, hey, this is what this means, and this is how we try and do it, and this is how the world works, and this is how the magic works. And it, like, no, don't give me the exposition. Show it to me. I love this, and I'm trying to implement that in my own writing. And that's why whenever I find stories that do this, it makes it so much better for me to interact and consume this type of media. I mean, yes, it's easier to do with graphic novels and with webcomics when there's visual media involved, but hey, the dialogue and the descriptions as well, that is also full of nuance and subtlety. I love it. It's just amazing. 5 out of 5. Would highly recommend. I was showing this to my roommate, and she was flipping through and was going like, oh my god, this is so cute. This is adorable. I love it. I love this, you know, textured drawing, cozy vibed book, and it's full of magic and it's in a modern setting. This is something you don't see often anymore. You don't see anymore. I don't see it at all. What am I talking about? You don't see modern magic like this. At least I haven't had a lot of experience while reading books throughout my childhood and my young adulthood. Like, I barely have any experience with, like, magic in a way like this. And this is what I think modern magic should be like. I mean, granted, this is very much of, like, witches and seers and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, seeing fairies and sprites and all that. I would like more magical creatures in my readings. But I absolutely adored this book, and I can't help it. I get so excited when talking about it. I absolutely love this book. I would highly recommend it, whether you get the Webtoons app or you buy the physical copy yourself, or even better yet, go to your local library and see if they have Crumbs by Danny Sterling. It's right there. It's just, I don't know. To me, there's something about a physical book that just makes it better. Anyway, book nerds, thank you so much for tuning into book club. I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about this book like a crazy person. Next week, I'm actually going to be reading Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell, and I'm actually very excited. Rainbow Rowell is one of my favorite authors. Anyway, that's what I'll be reading next week. I might also get an extra video out, or maybe a video in between. I don't know yet. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next chapter. Bye! Oh my god, my face hurts.